Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning from. Welcome to the Talk Talent live cast. I'm your host, Michael Goldberg. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good week, certainly an interesting week as we talk about a past president again for the next couple of weeks, for sure. Kind of crazy, but enough about that BS. Let's dive into who I've got on today. So I met Chris Villanueva. It was like to a presentation to a UT group, I believe, or it was it was a networking group, and we had met, and I'll bring him on in a minute and we can reminisce about how it was that we met. The one thing I'm looking at his LinkedIn profile, and Chris, we're not even connected. How did that not happen on LinkedIn? So we need to do that. But Chris is the founder and managing principal of his own company called Let's Eat Grandma. Now, I said it without the comma. It's Let's Eat, Grandma, meaning punctuation and the way you present yourself is uber important in today's job search world, even in today's marketing world. When you're putting yourself out there, whether you're looking for a job or you're selling your services, if the grammar's off, people are judging, right? So Chris has a great, just one of the more interesting backgrounds. He's currently living in Austin, and he created Let's Eat Grandma to help people land their dream jobs by improving their resumes, by improving their cover letter communications, and by improving their LinkedIn profile. So without any further ado, let me bring up my guy here. Where is he? There he is. How are you, Chris?
Good, Michael. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And how are things in Austin today? Are you about to get the brunt of the cold weather that we're supposed to be getting here tomorrow?
You know, there's been a lot of talk about this cold weather. I haven't seen any of it come here. We are experiencing 66 degrees right now where I'm at. So I'm not looking forward to it if it is coming, but I almost don't believe it.
Yeah, we're supposed to get, I think, ice and freezing rain starting tomorrow night. And then, this is crazy, the high on Sunday, have you heard this? For Dallas, and we're north of you, is 26 degrees. With the wind chill, it's supposed to feel like 5 degrees for a high. That's nuts. Right? Come on. I don't think the ground high. I don't think Pakistani Phil saw a shadow. So
Absolutely
I think there's more winter on the way, but we're not here to talk about winter, are we? We're here to talk about you. Let's Eat Grandma. What motivates you? How you help people, and how you help your clients and what you do. And so, and I love this topic. So why don't we do this? Why don't I shut up and I let you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I think you nailed the explanation about our name. You really nailed that one on the head. It's about the way that you present yourself. And I always thought the joke, Let's Eat Grandma, was hilarious. And I wanted to have a little bit of a different resume name than all the other ones out there. So we went with Let's Eat Grandma because we'd like to eat with our grandmothers, not the other way. So this was a company I started 6 years ago. And around the time, I was just interested in helping people with writing documents, just helping people to write in general. And one thing that I realized after having this business open for 6 months is that there were so many job seekers out there that had trouble writing their resumes. A lot of people who were going through some sort of transition, people who felt like they hadn't written a resume in such a long time and they just had no clue how to do it. And they would come to us asking for resume help. And so that would happen over and over and over again until we realized, okay, I think we found our niche. I think this is something that we can do, something that we feel really called and really fulfilled doing. And, back in college, I'd help people with the resumes and cover letters, and it was one thing that I really enjoyed doing. So really the connection went off and we felt at the time, 2014, it was good to make the leap to strictly focus on helping job seekers to land a dream job, essentially.
That's awesome. And, we got to say good morning to some folks that have popped in. We got Chandra. We've got Zonzarias Woods calling in from Chicago. Richard Smith from Josephine, Texas. Jessica Chapman, hello. She's my newest connection. Met her on Clubhouse last night. I don't know. Are you doing the Clubhouse thing? Do you have an iPhone, or are you?
I've thought about it. I don't know if I have the time to get into it. It seems like something awesome, but it would take some time.
It's a good business development tool, sir.
Sure.
And there are a lot of job seekers out there, and so there's a few people that both you and I know that have started, and the key to the success on it for you, and we can talk about this offline, but what I'm enjoying about it is I'm able to have conversations, and not only am I able to see their picture on LinkedIn, but I'm actually able to hear their voice and hear their thoughts and views and opinions on certain topics.
Sure.
Of course, mine focus on recruiting related. I call it the same thing. It's Talk Talent with Michael, or Talk Talent. It's usually on Mondays around 4:00 Central. But you should totally do one, especially on how to write better resumes. And you pick one topic. And all you do is you say, you put it on your calendar and you allot 1 hour to it. Don't go over, but you allot it. And then you do just one a week, or maybe even twice a week. You separate,
Wow.
you do it like on a weekend. The weekends are super busy. So
I believe it.
There
I
is
believe it.
free Clubhouse advice for you and everybody tuning in. It is a great tool, and there are a lot of job seekers out there looking for help on Clubhouse because they're also networking. So it's a good deal. So let's good morning, Adrian from San Antonio. So yeah, keep the comments in. Feel free to share that we're live. If you're on the video app on your phone, just hit that arrow to the right-hand side, which means you share it that we're live. If you have a question, just type it into the comments, and I'll make sure we get that answered for you. Because, like I said, Chris Villanueva, he's an expert at it. Obviously, so were you an English major, Chris?
I wasn't, but I studied communications a lot. I was a communications TA and studied hospitality, actually, which was a very specific area of focus within business, and a lot of hotelly pride. I went to the Cornell Hotel School, so a lot of us are proud of kind of where we came from and the hustle and grind it came with working service operations, but communications all the way. That's really what got me excited in college.
So what inspired you to come up with this service? Like what was the impetus, and then how did you get to Let's Eat, Grandma?
Yeah, definitely. I think what inspired me the most was helping job seekers. It was after getting that first round of feedback from someone saying, "Thank you so much. You helped me to land my dream job," essentially. And it was so hard to do that because my resume was so bad. And so getting that feedback and that gratitude, I think, from those first few clients is what inspired me to keep going. I think that's the exciting story. Because, this was something that I felt really excited to pursue. And I think really it was just that sense of gratitude. And like I said, with the name, it was just thinking that the joke is really funny, and the call out to attention to detail and having commas, because attention to detail is one of the most important things when it comes to writing a resume. You want to make sure you have your commas in place and proper grammar and things like that.
Yeah, let's talk about proper grammar. Proper grammar has kind of gone by the wayside. I know I review resume when I'm doing searches. I'll review resumes. And my wife was an English major. So, I mean, even to this day.
Did she correct you?
Oh, all the time. But I've become better. She's made me better.
Sure.
At using the English language the way it was meant to be used. Mm-hmm. Sometimes my English is not that great. I'll let the country, South Carolina, get inside of me, or even the Texas. and I'll forget a comma and it looks kind of weird. But there was also, what was the name of the book? Was it Eat Shoots Ladders? Is that what it was?
Eat Shoots and Leaves, I believe.
Leaves, yeah, right. Eat Shoots and Leaves, which is a great little book, especially for young kids. So if you have kids out there, that's definitely a book to read because it teaches you, and it's funny for adults too, on how to use the English language better. Why do we as a society place, in a world where we're looking for the right talent, someone has a misplaced comma or a misspelling in their resume.
Yeah.
But they have the skills to do the job. Companies, are you seeing companies let that slide a little bit? Or are you still hearing or seeing, at least from your current or former clients, that are saying, no, they're still, I made a mistake today?
Yeah, Michael, that's a good question. I think my opinion's actually changed on it over the last 5 years. And I don't get me wrong. I think having perfect spelling, having perfect commas and punctuation is important, and we should strive to have that. But 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I used to think that if there was one single spelling mistake on the resume, then it was game over. But I think sometimes it's a scare tactic that people within the recruiting world, job seeker world, recruiters even say that themselves. They're like, oh, if I see one spelling mistake, I will throw your resume in the trash. That is true sometimes. I mean, there are some people who are real sticklers to having one mistake, but I think it depends on the position that you're applying for. If you are applying for a content writer position or a technical writer position, then you better believe that your resume has to be completely spelling error free. But I think that there is some lenience depending on the types of positions you're applying for. But I don't want people to use that as an excuse not to have a perfect resume, not to omit every single spelling mistake, because I think at the end of the day, it is true that people are looking for attention to detail no matter what job you're applying for. And that, I want to see that you tried on your cover letter. So that in many cases means that you took the time to omit spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes where you could. That's just my thought.
So let's play a little game. You can't answer because I know you know the answer from your experience, of course. Right. So there you go. Correct or incorrect English. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. So I want you to put in the comments if that's correct or incorrect. Let's test our viewing audience's knowledge. It'll be interesting. It's hit it in there. We'll see if anybody comes up. We'll see if anybody's really paying attention. To see if it's definitely correct or incorrect English. So we'll leave that up there for a moment. So let's talk about, I want to go back to something. So, the cover letter. And I get, when I was doing career coaching, and I know you're not a career coach, but when I was doing career coaching, people said, well, do cover letters matter? And so I'd love to get your take on that, and love to hear some of the audience. And then we're finally getting some responses here. So go on.
So Michael, I think a good cover letter matters, but I think a mediocre cover letter does not matter. And at worst, I think a bad cover letter can actually make your situation worse. People might get turned off by you. But I mean, a little bit biased here because my company writes cover letters, but I don't think we would be doing so and producing hundreds of cover letters per year for our clients if we didn't believe that there was strong value in having them. And for me, I see the value of a cover letter in that it could really tip over a recruiter or a hiring decision maker to the yes side if they were on the fence about you, or your resume is really kind of blending in with all of the other ones that were submitted in the same round. So for me, I think a cover letter, if you get really specific and if you show why you are the best person for that job, then it can really tip you over to the yes pile, in my opinion. And that's the merit of a cover letter. It's got to be short, sweet, and really impactful, and it can make a difference.
That makes sense. So let's see what everybody said. Ready? And we'll bounce them up. Here. Let's see. So this person said no, correct, incorrect, correct. Richard Smith took it. Hello, everyone, comma. It's nice to see you. Very good. No punctuation. And now we got a question from Richard Smith. Do cover letters get read, in your opinion? I think it's always that. That's kind of why I asked, is the cover letter necessary? But I think Richard brings up a good point. Do they really get read?
I've spoken with a lot of recruiters who say they don't read cover letters, and I've spoken with a lot who say they do read cover letters. So there is no blanket answer. I think it depends on the recruiter, how many cups of coffee they had that day, how busy they are, and a bunch of factors like that. But I always think a cover letter, if you can actually get it in the hands of someone who is going to read it, whether it's even putting it in the body of an email to make sure that they do read it, if you have their email address, then I think it can be impactful.
Yeah, and so, but are they really reading it, Chris? I mean, that's my pain point is I don't, as a recruiter, as a former recruiting leader and recruiter, requested a cover letter to see how you thought and how you wrote. Mm-hmm. A lot of recruiters, especially in today's world, don't have the time or energy, because they can be lazy, to really review cover letters. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I think I'll go back to it and say that I really think it depends on the person reading it. I think it depends on the recruiter. And the thing that I did, I mean, I go back to the time that I applied for a general manager position for a club in Florida. And the thing I decided to do, I knew this person was busy. I knew this person was a GM himself. He probably worked 80 hours a week and had no time to read cover letters. But what I did was I took essentially everything that I would write in that cover letter, and I made it a lot shorter because I used to write longer cover letters back in the day, but I made it shorter. And what I did when he requested my resume was I attached it in the body of the email, and the actual body of the email was that cover letter that I wrote and made shorter. And his reply back was, wow, this is one of the nicest things that I've seen. Thank you so much. And I got requested for an interview the next day, essentially. So I think there are ways to get around the really busy person who isn't going to read a cover letter, but get across the point that you are the person for the role specifically for that job.
So, but so here's Michael King, who's a agency recruiter. Cover letters are a waster of time. Not proper English, Michael King. It's a waste of time. I'm just kidding. So that's. But is there a way to convey that same message in a 2-page resume?
It depends on what you're trying to convey. I don't think so. I think there are so many things that don't belong on a resume that might belong either on your LinkedIn profile or in a genuine conversation you have with somebody or the cover letter. I think it's awkward to say things like you are very passionate about something and then tell a story about how you became passionate about that specific job title in a resume. I would never really explain. I wouldn't even take a sentence to explain a resume gap, for instance, in a resume, but I might explain that within a cover letter because it might make more sense. So
what if they don't read the cover letter? It's literally a chicken or egg theory, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'll go back to it. There definitely are, and I've spoken with a bunch of them. There definitely are recruiters and managers out there reading cover letters. It's just got to be good. I think there are so many mediocre cover letters or cover letters that are just copy and paste that it makes recruiters not want to read cover letters in the first place. But it's just got to be good. And I think there are people reading it.
So this is interesting. It's kind of big, so it's going to cover up our faces here. And Adrian, thanks for the question. I was surprised recently when a CV was requested instead of a resume. I thought the two were synonymous, maybe not. Seems contrary to most of the advice direction that suggests being focused on the opening being pursued. Is this where a cover letter would be more appropriate?
That is that's a good.
CV the same thing as a resume, or is it different?
It's not. It's actually different. So
Please explain.
sometimes people use the word CV and resume interchangeably, and I think sometimes that's an accident. That's not really. That's just people kind of like throwing words around. A CV is a much longer, more extensive version of the resume. CVs, depending on the use, can be international. So I know in Europe, they send CVs and they're these 3-4 page documents. And I also know within academia, for instance, or, if you're applying to be within the sciences or at a university, they will specifically ask for a CV instead of a resume. But I think for 90% plus of the positions within corporate America or management, they are going to be resumes instead of CVs. The cover letter is a little bit of a different issue, I would say. So that's almost like a separate issue in itself. So the cover letter can be submitted with a CV or a resume. It doesn't really matter.
So I know as a recruiter, and I bet Michael King would agree, that if I saw a 5-page CV, I would keep going. I don't care how qualified they are. You only have, and I tell when I was doing the career coaching, I'm sure you tell them this too, you've only got about 10 to 15 seconds of a recruiter's attention, right? So Adrian, why a particular company would ask for a CV over a resume, unless it's for some type of communications job that asks you to elaborate on your experience in detail, it just I'm kind of blown away. Number one, I always used them interchangeably. I will no longer do that, so my apologies. I know that they use CV more in other countries, in APAC and in EMEA. Here in the States, it's really, here's my resume, right? So let me ask you this. The LinkedIn profile, which to me is kind of like your marketing document. What are some of the key points that you coach your clients on about having a strong, marketable LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most important parts about the LinkedIn profile, and a lot of people forget about this, is your headline. And that's because without even opening up your profile, if someone's doing a search, or if you're doing LinkedIn Easy Apply, for instance, a lot of the times the people who are looking at your or who are scanning through these selections are only going to see your picture and your headline. So that's why we think, as small as it is, as many characters as you get, that the LinkedIn headline is one of the things that you should pay very close attention to. So I recommend looking closely at the headline, and the summary. Whether or not people believe this, I think should be a really personal, almost pseudo, combination between your resume and your cover letter that showcases a little bit of personality, but shows why you are the qualified person for the role. And the summary is really your best of the best. It's the thing that is going to, show off your best accomplishments and the skill set that you have that is going to get you hired.
Absolutely. So, good friend of mine, Bradley Rich, says, perfect example of how the comma makes all the difference in that title. Right? Let's eat grandma versus let's eat grandma. He's giving us the thumbs up on
Thank you.
On that. So thanks, Bradley. Okay, so we got another question here from our friend Richard. Which would be best, bulleted skills list versus a wall of text for professional summary at the top of the resume? Because I know some people will, I don't know if you bullet them out, but you kind of have those. You have your skills kind of 3 columns of 4 skills separated, which you have to be careful. But I'll let you answer the question, and then I'll kind of give you that warning if you are going to do it that way. So go ahead.
Sure. That's a great question. There's many styles, and the beautiful thing, believe it or not, about writing resumes is that there are no hard and fast rules to how you do everything. I mean, there are certain conventions that people follow, but there is no right or wrong answer per se. So one thing that I did when I wrote for clients, especially people who had a lot of experience, so say they had 15 to 20 years of relevant experience within a field. And one thing that I would do is I would write a combination. So the hybrid paragraph technique, which you can employ within that summary that you write. So it's a few sentences at the top that describe what type of professional you are. It has to be targeted to the position. Otherwise, you don't want to waste anybody's time. Trust me. So you have a few short sentences at the top, and underneath that short paragraph, you have a few key bullet points. And if you were that 15 to 20 years of experience professional, then what I would do is bring the top 3 accomplishments you've had within your field and include those within those bullet points. Now, I call that the hybrid paragraph technique because you're using both the paragraph at the top and the bullet points as well. I would never suggest a wall of text because no one's going to read these large chunks of paragraphs that are 7 or 8 lines long. So you got to make sure your paragraphs are short. That's my one caveat, but that's what I believe.
Short, sweet, and to the point. And so the other thing I would say is, Richard, and to anybody, and thank you for your question, is do not create a table with those words. And I'll tell you why. If you have embedded formatting in the system, there's a chance your resume is not going to get read by the ATS system properly, the applicant tracking system, the recruiting system. When you apply, that goes to an ATS. But if you have specialized formatting in your resume, there's a good chance that it's not going to get picked up by the ATS, and you may be the first one to apply, or maybe let's say the 10th one to apply, but you may not show up as a qualified candidate because you had embedded formatting. So make sure that when you do it, that you start with the table and then convert the table to text in a Word document. And then you can convert it to PDF so the formatting stays there. But have you coached people on that before?
I'm just going to second everything you said. It's true. I mean, I will say that there are different applicant tracking systems all over the place. So we don't know whether someone's going to invent an ATS, or maybe it's already been invented that doesn't care if there's tables and they can parse out those texts just fine. But I still would encourage job seekers to err on the smart side and not include things like tables, because you just never know. They may be getting in the way of your resume getting a good ATS scan.
So here's a question I'll pose for our viewers. So where do you focus your efforts on your marketing? Do you put more time into your cover letter? Do you put more time into your resume, or do you put more time in a LinkedIn profile? And, I guarantee the responses, let us know what your responses are. I think I already know what that answer is going to be. But what do you say to the people that are continually working on their resumes to think that they've got to have the perfect resume in order to get in the door?
Hey, listen, this is coming from somebody who started a resume writing service, so these words should mean the most. But if you're spending 100% of your time on getting your resume perfect, you're probably doing something wrong. I believe that coming from, my entire revenue stream, my entire source, my livelihood comes from resumes. Resumes are very important. They're one of the most impactful documents that you can write to get you to where you want in your career. But I'm a huge advocate, and this is what I have on my podcast, why I have guests like Michael come in and speak. But I'm a huge advocate for building really organic connections with other people that are going to get you hired. Building, as one of my guests said in the past, authentic friendships that can end up leading you to getting an interview or getting a job. Because I think that's really where the money is. It's your network. Your network is just so incredibly powerful. Now, your resume and your LinkedIn profile and the cover letter are tools that you can use to get you to move across within your network, but it's not everything. So there are very few instances where, in a vacuum, if I had no network whatsoever, but I had this great resume, that it would lead me to a lot of success. I think you really need the people in your life, and you need a good strategy behind you before you really start getting that resume across. And that's coming from me.
And I couldn't agree more. It is about the networking. It is about building those authentic friendships, as you call them. I actually kind of really like that. Or just authentic relationships with people where you're trying to get the job. Remember, a resume, a cover letter, and a LinkedIn profile is just a tool to help you get the job, or to at least gain the interest. But it doesn't do the job that you can do as a salesperson, as a networker,
right,
to get yourself sold. The only person that's going to be able to sell to the company, whether it be whether you're looking for a job or you're looking to sell a service, is yourself. Only I know Michael Goldberg. Only you know Chris Villanueva, and we can only sell ourselves the best because we know ourselves the best. So, as my friend Mike Cohen out of Houston says, otherwise known as Batman, he goes, "Tools do a job, not your job. The tools are the cover letter, the resume, and the LinkedIn profile. Your job is to go and get that position by preparing, thinking about your accomplishments, staying focused during your interview, answering the questions with specific examples." I had a candidate last week, great candidate, great skill sets, got to the interview after all this prepping I had done for him, right? And in the end, they're not going to move forward with him because he avoided answering the question. And that's for a whole nother show, maybe another time. So what are some of the, if someone has just found themselves in the job market, do they go and do their LinkedIn profile first, or do they do their resume first?
Good question. I would ask that person how much time are they willing to put into that LinkedIn profile? I'll be real with people. I say, like, if you're not going to use your LinkedIn profile at all, it's probably not going to do you much work. But if that's going to be your strategy that you're going to employ, and you are going to be very, very active on LinkedIn, then I might steer that person towards using the platform. LinkedIn isn't for everyone. I'm going to be honest. I've spoken with a lot of friends and people working out there who have said, "Hey, LinkedIn's not for me. I'm not a big social media person," or the people within my field don't use LinkedIn at all. And with those people, I might try to play devil's advocate and convince them otherwise, that they need to use LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, if they're not going to spend the time to get on the platform and to develop those connections, then it's going to be a waste of time and money if they're using a service. But if they're willing to put in the time, I would say that LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools. It may be the most powerful tool job seekers have at their disposal to land that dream job. And I would steer them to using it first. But
I think it also depends on the industry too, right? So if you're into the creative side, you can build networks on Instagram if you're in the creative space. But if you're in the sales, business development, HR, LinkedIn's the place to be. Look, and you're right, it's not for everybody. I say Facebook, to me, Facebook is still there. It'll be interesting to see how they sustain themselves. Unless they buy Clubhouse, I think they're a foregone conclusion, because you can share any kind of thoughts and ideas. I'm not active on it on the platform. A lot of people try to reach out to me, and I try to look at it once or twice a week. But in the end, it's like, I don't have time to be on 5 different platforms to see if people are engaging with me. I tell people, if you want to engage with me, if you're watching this on Twitter, because I put it out to Twitter and YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, find me on LinkedIn. That's where I hang.
That's your focus.
That's my focus. It's where I build the relationships and I put out my content, right? And even my dogs agree. So if my dogs believe in it, then so be it. So I've got another question here from Richard Smith. We appreciate the questions coming along. PDF, that's one I had not tried. Does that help or exclude? And I assume that's back to the ATS. Any your comments or thoughts before I chime in?
That's a great question, Richard. So the PDF versus Word document debate has been one going on for the last 5 years. So the thing about the PDF, the beautiful thing is it's not going to ruin your format. If you have all these crazy things like tables, double column, triple column, the PDF is going to take a snapshot of the way your document looks, and it's going to make sure it's consistent across the board. That's the beautiful thing about PDF. But I believe, and this is my theory, the thing that I've ended up developing this belief on, based off of research and what our clients have seen and other things like that. But I believe that Word documents scan better through most applicant tracking systems because it's a lot more likely to pick up on those specific keywords within your document. So if you're going to be uploading your resume to a portal through an applicant tracking system, I would recommend submitting it via Word. But if you actually know that somebody's going to get your resume, maybe you send it via email to a recruiter or the person who is doing the hiring, then that's when I would pull out the PDF because PDFs are just clean.
Amen. Amen. All right. One final question here. We're about to wrap up. So if any more questions, feel free. But let us know if this is worded correctly. Correct or incorrect English? Meet Chris Villanueva, CEO of Let's Eat Grandma, who helps clients with resumes, cover letters, and their LinkedIn profile. Let us know if you think that is correct or incorrect. Chris, you want to offer something to somebody as a give them 15 minutes of coaching or anything like that? I know we didn't talk about this, but would you be willing to do if whoever we decide comes up with the first correct answer before I go there? Would you give them 15 minutes of your time?
If we were doing one of the live events, I would have. We used to buy pre-COVID. We used to buy people, drinks at the bar next door. If they got these questions right, or buy a drink or two. But you are putting me on the spot here, Michael. Now I have to think about something and come up with a promotion off the top of my head. How about this? If you get this right, then we have a solid bundle of applicant tracking system friendly resume templates. And it is a really good, well-designed set here that we sell for $25. And if you get that right, I will send it over to you for free.
All right. So I'm giving 10 more seconds. So, Chris, I'll let you divulge this answer. Did I miss a comma anywhere in there? Or does this look good?
Did you miss a comma?
I did miss a comma. That is correct. Let's see what they say. So Richard Smith, I'm sorry. It is not correct grammar and punctuation. And I misspelled punctuation again. That is hysterical. Well, good news for you. Chris, where did I miss the comma?
In front of the who.
That's right. Right after grandma. Because it's a pause. I've introduced Chris as to who he is and what he does. And I've paused. Now
let me ask to kind of spin this around here, and this is just a stimulating conversation here, so forgive me for cutting in, but what if it was a that scenario? What if the word was that and it wasn't a who we're talking about? We're talking about an object.
Well, there you go.
I have a tool that helps job seekers. That's an example.
Yes, absolutely. So, Richard, seems like you could use Mr. Villanueva's help. So maybe you give Chris a call and he could help you. Not to say that everything's wrong on that on your resume or LinkedIn profile. I'm just saying yeah, maybe give them a call. Why
We're
not?
just having some fun here.
We're just having some fun. We're just having some fun.
Yeah, some good
So
questions.
but thanks. I appreciate you sticking around and playing. So, one thing I forgot to mention is he's got a podcast. It's called the Career Warriors Podcast. What day does it load up on a new? When does a new episode load up?
Yeah, new episodes every Monday morning.
Every Monday morning. You got to get your job search going, right? Right. So, Chris, I appreciate you joining today, and I think everybody reach out to Chris. You can find him on LinkedIn. And Chris, I couldn't believe it. We're not connected on LinkedIn. Like I follow you, you follow me, but I don't think we're connected.
I think that was the misconception. We're interacting with each other, and so that gave
we've interacted more.
That we were connected, but it was a lie. It was all a lie.
It was all a facade. Well, let's change that, of course, and be connected. And but seriously, if you guys need any help with your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, Chris is the guy to contact, because that's where your job search journey begins. You want to have that all the ready before you start networking, because without that, and someone says, hey, well, I'll look at your LinkedIn profile and it's not updated, or it's chock full of mistakes, and you haven't talked to Chris, then that's not good for your own marketing. If someone says, well, yeah, hey, send me your resume, then let's see what we can do to get Chris to help you out. So definitely reach out to him on LinkedIn.
Hey, Michael, can I make a quick caveat here? You
may.
Yeah, I just want to be honest with the awesome people who are on this right now. We have 2 products right now, and one is it is very hard to get the resume service with us right now, just because we are very booked right now. Things are very busy. So if you need immediate help, I might recommend actually going with our urgent care package, which is at a much lower price point. But the other, if you want specific resume help, you might have to wait a little bit long, and that's just the nature of the situation. So I just don't want to disappoint anyone here. But the urgent care package is good as if you need the immediate help, comes with the downloads and some group career coaching and other things like that.
Yeah, you know what I'd recommend, Chris, is you do a group class, and do like a 2 or 3 week course on cover. 1 week covers cover letters, 1 week covers resumes, one covers LinkedIn. And that way you can talk to a group of people, get it done. As a part of that offering, we'll take a look at your resume, but we'll take a look at each after you've listened to what we've given you and the advice we've given you. You come back to it, we'll take a look at it, and that's a part of the package. But time is it's good that you're busy. There's a lot going on right now, and
it's a crazy time.
It's a good pain to have, right? So congratulations. So as we wrap up here, Chris, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for joining Talk Talent with Michael Goldberg. That's me. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you ever are looking for some help in recruiting strategy, or need help in terms of you're with a company and you need our recruiting strategy assistance, I'm around, and that's what we specialize in. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Chris, amazing guest as always. Appreciate being on your podcast a couple of months ago, and appreciate you taking the time to be on mine today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael.
You bet. Wait a minute. We have one more comment. Oh, thanks, Michael. So Richard, thanks, Michael and Chris, for lots of good info. Thank you, sir. All right, everyone. We'll give them the Queen's wave there, Chris. Got to give them the Queen's wave.
Bye, everyone.